I appreciate everybody being here. We're continuing to do town halls across the district. As everybody knows, we do a lot of town halls. And I tell people all the time, you know, we're not here to talk to you guys and preach to you guys. We're really here to listen to you all. The issues of concern to you. 12th Congressional District has 12 counties. It's a diverse district, economically, demographically, culturally, and it's really important to know what's going on in all parts of the district. You know, I think for a long time, parts of the 12th Congressional District have been neglected. I think that we've ignored a lot of the wonderful opportunities we have here. I think through proper public policy, we can turn it around. I've been in front of you, some of you before, I've been in front of some of you quite often, but I do see a lot of new faces in the crowd. We do have a couple friends here with us today from the Democrat Congressional Committee who follow me around and videotape me all the time. They really want me to say something silly on camera, so just bear in mind that some people are here to learn about issues, some are here to talk about issues, and you know, some people are here for political reasons, so it's always important to make everybody aware of that. But most importantly, like I said, you guys are here because you care about Monroe County, you care about the 12th Congressional District, you care about the state of Illinois. I think you care about the country as well. This is a very important election. It's important at the presidential level. It's important down to the county board and county commissioner level. We have a lot of opportunity here, and I'm here to open up questions to you all. During the course of the thing, you know, we'll hit on a lot of different issues, but as I tell people all the time, I think the Republican Party in Illinois is working hard. I think the Republican Party in Illinois is very open. It's very transparent. You can come talk to us. I do these town halls all the time. We've got another town hall tomorrow night. We do them across the district, and we encourage the Democrats to do the same thing when they do get a candidate. And we hope that their selection process is very open, like the Republicans was up in Illinois 13. So, without further ado, I'd like to open up questions and talk about the issues you care about. Yes, sir.
The EPA is making it harder for our utilities to burn coal. How is that affecting Southern Illinois? How will you help industry in Southern Illinois with respect to the EPA?
The EPA is decimating Southern Illinois. 20 years ago, we had 37 operating coal mines. Today, we have 9 operating coal mines in the 12th Congressional District. We have more BTUs in coal between my district and John Shimkus' district than Saudi Arabia has in oil. We're blessed with a tremendous amount of natural resources. It's not just coal. It's not just coal that the EPA affects either. It's our farmers. It's our natural gas guys. It's our oil guys. Of course, our coal guys. It's our small businessmen. You know, the EPA has over 18,000 employees. And yeah, there's some good things the EPA does. But I think when you have over 18,000 employees, it's a lot of people. And when they're running around the country, I think they have to figure out a way to justify the fact that they're employed by the federal government. And we have 18,000 people trying to justify why they're employed by the federal government. I think you get some of the crazy regulations, some of the crazy bureaucracy, some of the crazy red tape that we see. You know, I was at the Monroe County Farm Bureau earlier this year, talking to the farmers there. And when you go to the farmers and you say, the EPA thinks your 15-year-old kid can't work on your farm. They don't think they should be allowed to work on your farm. What do you think about that? And the family farmers just laugh. When you say, hey, the EPA, they want to regulate how much dust your combine picks up. What do you think of that? They just kind of laugh. When you say, hey, the EPA, state and federal, doesn't think we should be burning coal in Illinois, our coal that we dig up here in Illinois, but we should ship it to China and allow them to burn it in a much more environmentally unfriendly way, so that that pollution goes up into the atmosphere, comes over to us, and pollutes us. The fact of the matter is the EPA is in the way of job creation, it's in the way of prosperity for the folks in the 12th Congressional District and a lot of other parts of the country. And I think as congressman, I can do a lot of things that other congressmen have done. You look at what John Shimkus has done, look at what Mark Kirk's done. They've stood up to the EPA on a variety of different issues, and I think through the 12th Congressional District, we can do the same thing and bring prosperity back to this area. But the EPA is just one of quite a few problems, quite a few headwinds we're facing. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that follows on that, since I guess this is security. What's clean coal, and is the same coal that we ship to China that they're somehow burning improperly, burned properly here? What's the difference?
Well, clean coal is
and our coal?
clean coal. The definition continues to evolve, and I'll use natural gas as a comparison. I'm sure everyone remembers when natural gas prices were quite a bit higher, 6, 8, 10 years ago. And natural gas was the new hip, cool thing. It was environmentally friendly. It burns cleaner than coal. It burns cleaner than oil. So we're all for natural gas, right? And now prices have plummeted, so you see the production of natural gas going through the roof. You see natural gas getting out and being in a lot of uses that weren't around a decade ago. And suddenly, though 8 years ago it was cleaner, it was friendlier, it was better, now natural gas is bad. And I think what you see is you see a mindset from a lot of our friends on the left, a lot of their Democrat allies in Washington. It's not a matter of clean coal, it's not a matter of clean natural gas. They are against fossil fuels. They're flat out against natural gas, they're flat out against coal, they're flat out against oil.
Is there such a thing as, I mean, I hear about it all the time.
Right.
Is there
There's
such
clean
a
coal
thing as
technology.
clean coal?
Yeah, there's clean coal technology. Unfortunately, a proposed clean coal plant in Massac County, Illinois, was just shot down this week, which was a cost of a lot of jobs. So it's a $1.8 billion investment in Massac County. So yeah, the clean coal technology exists. However, when we try to promote it in Illinois, which we've done through 4 different proposals at the state legislative level, it's been killed. Clean coal is it really is an evolving definition. For example, the coal we use right now, Southern Illinois coal's high sulfur. And so when we burn it, our plants burn it cleaner, our plants burn more efficiently. Our plants have done that for at least 20 years. But different processes, you got scrub, I mean a lot of different technologies. I mean every day new technologies come out. You know, it used to be just the scrubbers, and now we've evolved in a lot of different technologies. So what we burn coal at today is light years ahead of what we burned it at 6 and 8 years ago, and definitely what we burned it at 20 years ago. Compared to how the Chinese burn it today, it's like we did in the 40s and 50s.
So you're saying there's less pollution from the coal that,
The-
it's not the coal that's mined, it's how it's used?
Well, no, I mean, it's the same coal. If you go down to Perry County and you pull some coal out of the ground, the way we would burn it in Southern Illinois at one of our clean coal plants is much more environmentally friendly than what we do when we throw it on a barge, send it to the Mississippi, send it to the ocean, ship it over to China the way they burn it.
Okay,
Same coal.
So it's not the coal, it's the process of how it's
Yeah,
used.
absolutely.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I mean, there's different types of coal, which you can get in West Virginia, which you get in Kentucky, which you get in Southern Illinois. It's going to be different makeup. It's all coal, but different makeup of it. So some coal is cleaner than other coal, but then even the dirtiest coal you can burn more efficiently through the process of using the coal.
So does the EPA has that caused us to have cleaner coal and less pollution?
Has the
Do they
EPA
do
caused that?
Is that something the EPA did?
No, I would argue that the technology. I mean, people are always trying to burn the coal more efficiently and more environmentally friendly. The EPA continues to throw up red tape. In fact, it's the state EPA that killed the clean coal plant in Massac County. So if we're really looking, what's that?
Because
You have to ask the state EPA. I would argue that there is a mindset with a lot of people. It's not just coal. Like I said, it's natural gas, it's oil, it's everything else. There's a mindset with a lot of people. They just don't like burning coal. They don't like burning certain fuels. They'd rather us invest in other types of technologies. So you have to get over that mindset. Not everybody is for burning coal.
I get you. It just sounds to me like the people with the mindset are concerned that it's some sort of an environmental hazard and the other stuff isn't. Is that what you mean?
I don't know what you mean by other stuff.
I mean like wind farms or stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's for an all-of-the-above energy policy. The problem is, we're for an all-above energy policy when solar, coal, oil, gas, whatever. The all-above energy policy you see out of Washington, D.C. right now, the Democrats, is all the above ground. It's nothing underground can be used. And the problem we're going with that is, if you eliminated, if you use strictly solar, if you use strictly wind, if you use all those technologies, it wouldn't power 15% of the national grid. You have to use coal, you have to use oil, you have to use gas. So, I mean,
Come a long way from clean coal.
yeah, no, that's okay. It's also the cost of the consumer. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I'm all for expanding those things. But I don't live in Arizona or Nevada where solar power is better obtained. I don't live in Iowa or parts of northern Illinois or parts of Nebraska where wind power is better obtained. I live in southern Illinois where we have tons of coal, we have oil, we have gas. Those energies, those natural resources are needed to power our grid, and we have Washington, D.C. in the way. It's costing us money because money to power our houses and power our grid because we're not utilizing those resources. It costs us jobs in Southern Illinois because it's here, we're not accessing it. It's really a double whammy for us. So, George, you have a question?
Yes, I do. This is on the farm bill. As much as your district is farm related, a lot of farmers. I know they're going to cut back the budget on farm direct payments. I don't have a problem with grain prices being high. But my biggest concern, crop insurance. They're trying to make a limit of that. $750,000. Everybody says that's a lot of money. You know, that's only a couple thousand acres of land. A lot of people farm more than that. You won't get all your input costs, all your machinery costs. What's your opinion on that?
First off, on the farm bill itself, I think people need to realize when you hear the farm bill is very distorted these days. I mean, I think north of 70% of the farm bill actually goes into nutrition programs.
That's correct.
In fact, historically the farm bill was crop insurance. It was things that really helped family farms. And now the farm bill, as they say, it's kind of like sausage. You don't want to see how they make it because so much stuff's jammed into it. But the farm bill, I think, is really being corrupted in that manner. In terms of crop insurance, I agree with you 100%. The limits that they have and the limits that are proposed aren't going to cover what a lot of our family farms need. And in the 12th Congressional District, it's a huge issue to our farmers. When I was at the Monroe County Farm Bureau, when I was at the Franklin County Farm Bureau, St. Clair County Farm Bureau, each farm bureau brought that issue up, and that's something I agree wholeheartedly with y'all on.
I mean, when you cut back direct payments, we don't need that more, right? We realize that.
Right.
Crop insurance is the main thing.
And yeah, crop insurance is a mainstay. Farmers depend on that forever. Yes, any questions? Okay.
How about Lily Ledbetter? What's your position?
What's that?
What's your position on Lily Ledbetter?
Well, I think that in which regard, the new proposal or
The law.
what about the
The
new
Lily
proposal?
Ledbetter fair employment?
Right, the new proposal or the one that's in place now?
The one the president signed. I didn't know is there yet.
Yeah, there's new legislation on it. Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's called Lily
Is it
Ledbetter
called the
anymore.
Fair Pay Act or something?
I'm sorry?
The Fair Pay Act?
The Fair Pay Act.
That's a new.
That's the new one?
Yeah, that's the new piece of legislation, I think again, and I haven't read the details of the bill, so I'd have to look into that. I think that again, what you're seeing out in the administration right now is what I was talking about a couple of nights ago in Alton. A lot of issues people are bringing up that are probably, I would say, not focused on really benefiting everybody. We really need to make sure everyone is at work, everyone's receiving pay, everyone's putting food on the table. And I don't like it when we're pushing proposals and kind of divvy up the demographics, divvy up the population. I haven't read the bill. I have to see how they.
I guess my impression was it was simply a question of equal work for equal pay, regardless of your gender or
Right. Which I think everybody supports, making sure that, no matter, what gender you are, what age you are, what color you are, whatever, if you're doing the same job as the next person, you should be compensated in the same manner. I'm not sure if that bill directly does that. I haven't read the bill yet.
And I'm wondering why it would be so hard to pass a bill that says that.
I haven't read the bill, so I'd have to look at that. Yes, sir.
What's your position on entitlements? We're going for a train wreck a few years down the road. So.
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to do is we've got to stabilize them, we have to secure them, we have to make sure that they're there for people to propose them, It's kind of interesting because our friends over here, they're going to run a really savage campaign because they don't really have a record to run on. They've cost this country a lot of jobs, cost this country a tremendous amount of money. They voted for Obamacare, which took $500 billion away from the Medicare system. And then they attack us for Medicare. We haven't touched the Medicare system. We haven't taken any money from it.
Paul Ryan got demonized.
Yeah, he got, Paul Ryan, he laid out a plan that he argues sustains Medicare, Social Security, and make sure it's there for people that are on it now and people that are expecting it. And he's getting attacked by people that took $500 billion away from Medicare. So you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see, the commercials come October. I'm like dumping grandma over the cliff as if Republicans don't have grandparents or something like that. But I think it's important that we propose a plan, we lay out a plan that ensures the folks that are on certain entitlement programs right now don't see a change there. And I think people that are expecting it to be there and people that are younger that want options can make sure that what they're expecting to be there is
The
there.
present plan was made for my grandfather, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And the present plan won't exist in 25 years unless we stabilize it, we secure it. And I'm glad to see there's Republicans out there trying to do that while the Democrats are raiding Medicare, taking money away from our seniors to fund a program that will, I want 50 million seniors in the United States to be able to make their healthcare decisions. I don't want 15, and it's interesting, but literally 15 bureaucrats that control the Medicare system. I mean, they can't control the post office. I don't want them controlling my healthcare. And that's the program we're at right now. I want the power to be with the citizens. I want the power to be with the seniors and not the bureaucrats. And I want to make sure that programs that people have been paying into forever are actually there. And right now, the track we're on, they won't be there unless we really make sure we
So
secure
we
it.
had to do the payroll tax cut, and it made it worse, so.
Yeah, and then, then they politicize the payroll tax cut and take more money out of the program. So it's pretty interesting. Yes, sir.
If you were given the opportunity, how would you create people?
Well, I'm kind of unique. I'm of the mindset that government doesn't create jobs. I think what we need to do, and I tell people this all the time, we need to shrink the size and scope of the federal government. You need to get government out of the way. If you get government out of the way, you can allow the American people to do what they do best. So, there's a lot of examples of doing that. A lot of people, and the question I get all the time is, when you go to Washington, D.C., what's your number one thing you want to do? What's your number one goal? And I've been in forums, I haven't been in any forums with my opponents from the other side of the aisle. They don't really show up too often, but I've been in a lot of forums with other Republicans. And you'll hear people say, I want to preserve the Second Amendment. I want to fight for the rights of the unborn. I want to lower taxes. I want to, vote to, I want to get rid of Obamacare, all that kind of different stuff. What I tell people all the time is I want to shrink the size and scope of the federal government. I think the federal government has grown beyond all the original intents and purposes of our founding fathers. And I think that if you go to Washington, or Springfield for that matter, with the mindset of shrinking the size and scope of the federal government, you will preserve our constitutional rights under the Second Amendment. You will make sure that we lower taxes. You won't have bureaucratic train wrecks like Obamacare. You don't have to worry about those things because you won't have 18,000 people at the EPA running around trying to justify their existence by regulating how much dust a tractor can suck. You won't have that type of stuff. In terms of the 12th Congressional District itself, I think the first, and there's a lot of things we need to do. I think we have one of the most convoluted tax codes in the world. And not only do we have one of the most convoluted tax codes in the world, we have the highest corporate tax rates in the world. We used to be number 2, but Japan's actually reformed theirs a little, so we're actually higher than Japan now. Highest corporate tax code in the world. And it's getting very frustrating because, you hear people on TV all the time say, well, corporations have so much cash right now. They've got so much money on their balance sheets, and they're not putting that into the economy. Well, that's just a lot of that money is not in the U.S. A lot of that money is offshore. A lot of that money is in different countries. And the minute they bring that money back, it gets taxed at such a high rate. So it makes no sense for them to bring it back. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure that our tax code and our government is set up in a way to make sure that our workers and our businesses are as competitive as they can possibly be. And that would be my goal. So focus on the 12th Congressional District, go after the EPA, go after the tax code, make sure our coal miners can actually mine coal, make sure our farmers can go farm a field and their 15-year-old son or daughter can help them. And they're not worried about filling out paperwork for the EPA. Make sure that our small businessmen are focused on creating jobs, not filling out paperwork. I was with the doctor in Mount Vernon, and I said, we were talking about government-run healthcare. We were talking about some of the, I think he said 85 or 90% of his patients were on Medicare and Medicare. So we were talking about some of those issues. And he said that he spends 60 to 70% of his time doing paperwork and 30 or 40% of his time meeting with patients. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So we have to get things like that fixed so that our doctors can treat people, that they can treat people with consultation with the patients, not people in Washington. And we can really get, I say it all the time. Now, I believe in Southern Illinois because I believe in the people of Southern Illinois. And if you get our coal miners mining coal, if you get our farmers farming, if you get our small businessmen creating jobs, if you get our teachers teaching, if you let our people do what they do best, this area will thrive. We're blessed with coal, we're blessed with oil, we're blessed with natural resources. We've got SIU Carbondale, we've got Scott Air Force Base. Our geographic location is phenomenal. We have access to transportation networks, road, rail, river, air. We couldn't be more blessed than we are. but we're struggling horribly. We've got higher unemployment. It's economically depressed. Why is that? It's not a lack of natural resources. It's not a lack of human talent. I'd say it's poor public policy. And we're going to change those things. We're going to get people back to work, bring prosperity back in this area via good public policy. Yes, sir.
What are the arguments for or against term limits, and which way do you lean?
I think the arguments for term limits are the 12th congressional district. We've had 2 congressmen in 72 years. Now think about that. We've had 2 congressmen in 72 years. That is an argument for term limits. Other arguments for term limits is the fact that you get career politicians that become beholden to staying in office and not representing their constituencies. Beholden to raising money so that they deter competition and not making sure that they're representing their district. I think that, quite frankly, I think you just send a lot of people out there that lose touch. Take Charlie Rangel. No, and he's a Republican, but I'm blanking. The senator from Indiana that was just defeated the president.
Yeah.
Richard Lugar, right? Now, Richard Lugar did great things on nuclear disarmament. He was a foreign policy. He was at the tip of the spear on foreign policy. The guy represents Indiana in the U.S. Senate, and then it comes out he hasn't lived there since like the late 70s.
Yeah.
You know, I mean how do you know what's going on in Indiana? How do you know what's going on in Illinois 12? How do you know what's going on wherever you represent? You know, if you spend so much time in Washington. So I think, term limits are great. We were created, citizens would take time away from their regular private lives, and they'd go serve, and then they'd go back. And we don't have that anymore. We have a career government. And we really have a career government. We need businessmen taking time away from the business, going to Washington, doctors taking time away from the practice, going to Washington and coming back. And so I like that. Arguments against term limits are, well, if you limit, how long congressmen can stay in Washington, then, their staffs will control Washington. And, you don't really learn how to operate the place until you've been there a long time. And if you don't get people to, get there to learn how to operate it, there's a lot of arguments. At the end of the day, I'm in favor of term limits. I don't think anyone should serve in Congress for 48 years, like we've seen. I remember I went to, and this is a bipartisan issue. A lot of these issues we face are not Democrat issues, not Republican issues, they're American issues. So, that's where I stand on the argument. You have some people say 3 years, 3 terms are great, 5 terms are great. Whatever. I don't know what the exact figure is. I don't know what it should be, but I know there's been proposals presented that made a lot of sense to me from kind of a common sense perspective, and I would hope to be able to jump on board and support one of them. Yes.
On our deficit is growing daily. And that, what is your thoughts how to reduce this deficit? I don't want to be like Greece or Spain with those issues. You listen to Bloomberg or everything like that. We're not going to lead to that. What's your thing? Nobody wants to raise taxes or anything like that. What's your thing to control this deficit?
Well, I think twofold. You obviously have to get spending under control. And spending is out of control. I read I think earlier, no, it was yesterday, the average American, it was either the American or American family, I forget, they've tacked on $200,000 in debt in the last 3 years per capita. And you hear things like that, and it's like, how do you get out of that mess? So, the debt's a huge problem. You have to control government spending. But the flip side of the point is there are ways to raise revenue to Washington to kill this debt without raising taxes, without punitive legislation that hurts businesses and hurts workers. And look, data is data. Republicans and Democrats alike have proven historically. You got JFK's done, you got Ronald Reagan's done. There's a litany of people that have done it. When you actually make the tax code more efficient, when you make the tax code more conducive to work, savings, and investment, when you lower taxes, when you incentivize people to get out and spark the economy, you increase revenue to Washington. You saw JFK lower taxes across the board, increase revenue to Washington. You saw Ronald Reagan do it. In Illinois, you saw us raise taxes at the state level, and you saw our deficit grow. And you saw people leave the state. I don't know how long it's been, but Illinois had 25 congressmen that were appointed. I remember when John Chipkus was U.S. Congressman from Illinois' 21st Congressional District. There's only 18 districts now. Each district represents 650,000, 700,000 people. So people are choosing not to live here. I would argue it's because of the tax code. Springfield wonders, why can't we balance the budget even though it's constitutionally mandated? Well, because you have a tax code that punishes business, that it punishes investment, that it punishes savings. People go elsewhere. People choose to vote with their feet. And what we have in Washington, D.C. is a tax code that punishes those things. I tell people all the time, our friends over here, they like to raise taxes on things to stop people from doing it. They're going to raise taxes on tobacco products because it'll stop people from smoking or chewing tobacco. They'll raise taxes on this action because they'll stop people from doing that. And then they want to raise taxes on saving. And they want to raise taxes on investing. And they want to raise personal income tax rates. Well, if you raise taxes and it stops people from smoking, when you raise taxes on working, wouldn't it keep them from working? Wouldn't it keep them from investing? Wouldn't it keep them from growing the economy? I mean, this is common sense. JFK would come back, scratch his head, and he wouldn't know what's going on today. And obviously Ronald Reagan would do the same. So, there's a lot of issues at play here. But to really get the deficit under control, and once we get the deficit under control, get the debt under control, is you have to obviously rein in spending. Anyone that says there's not waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, let's talk after the meeting. I'll give you plenty of examples. But then you also can increase revenue to government in a positive way that doesn't harm the economy, that could actually grow the economy. And that's why I'm for a complete, I want to see the tax code completely changed. I think the tax code has grown ridiculously. I think there's ways to close a lot of loopholes. I think there's ways to really create a tax code that creates a vibrant economy. And, I've been very passionate about those fiscal issues for a long time. I've written papers on it, and that's something I'm very passionate about because it's easy. It's data, it's numbers, it's fact. You can distort the numbers, but history is history. And there's a way to change things. Yes, sir.
You say you want to help small business. We've seen with a lot of the legislation that's passed, they delegate rulemaking powers to this agency or that agency or this person. What are you going to do to make sense out of the regulatory web that's been passed on us the last 3 years?
Right, it's just like the taxes too. Another reason why there's so much money, sitting out there that's not being put into the economy. One reason why people aren't growing their business. One reason why, somebody that's got a good job that really wants to go out there and start their own business that hasn't taken the step yet. There's so much uncertainty out there. Why is there so much uncertainty out there? Well, we've talked about tax issues and what's going to be going on a year from now, let alone 5 years from now. But the regulatory environment, it's constantly changing. And it becomes more of a headache sometimes to own and operate a business. And it shouldn't be a headache. It should be something you should be proud of and you want to do. So we got to get government under control. We've got to have a legislative body that actually controls the legislative processes. You've got to have an executive branch that respects the Constitution and the legislative process. You can't go around creating all of these czars and all of these bureaucracies that exist that have large budgets that throw out regulation after regulation after regulation. I mean, it's truly, I would argue, a constitutional question. What is the correct size and scope of the federal government? What is the role of the federal government? Should the federal government be doing a lot of things that we've talked about, that EPA is doing, that these other agencies are doing? I would argue they're not. The only way you're going to change that is to get people to Washington, D.C. that understand the way those policies, those regulations negatively impact the economy and our workers.
Follow-up question. Is the economy bad? If so, whose fault? If it's the government's fault, how so?
It's an election year, so, our friends on the other side of the aisle are going to try to paint, as rosy of a picture as possible. But I crisscross the 12th congressional district, and I haven't ran into a lot of voters that say, wow, I love the way things are going right now. And, I can't speak for what's going on in every corner of the nation, but I'll tell you what we see at the local level. No, the economy's not good. The economy's in tough shape. It's in brutal shape. And it's sad because the folks in IL-12 that don't have jobs, they want jobs. They want to be working. We've got every opportunity to present them those opportunities, but this economy is not going to help them. The unemployment rate is ticking back up. You've got, we need, because of the size of our nation, the size of our population, we need 150,000 new jobs a month just to keep up with population growth. In the last 2 months combined, we have had 150,000 jobs. And that's just to keep up with population growth. That's not to eat into the net loss of jobs we've had over the last few years. Now, there's new numbers and new formulas every month with this administration. You know, they were going to create jobs, and they were going to maintain jobs, and they were going to save jobs, and then they're going to create and save and maintain. I don't know what's going on there, but I can tell you we've had a net job loss. I can tell you the unemployment rate continues to high. This is the 40th month in a row that we've had an unemployment rate of over 8%. 40th month in a row. And I know a lot of people like to blame other administrations, but come on, 3 years later? Yeah, 3 years later? I mean, in the business world, if you inherit a company and you're the CEO, and you say, you know I promised all these great things, and I know I've blown a whole lot of the investors' money, and I know that we've had a lot of ethical lapses, and I know that, you know, it still doesn't look good, and we don't know when we're going to turn around, but I promise you I'm going to. But it's really all that guy's fault from 3 years ago. How long do you think that guy's going to stay in charge of that company? I think it's going to be about as long as his president stays in charge of this country, because the American people know what the economy is doing on Main Street. They know what the economy is doing in Waterloo, Illinois. They know what it's doing in Illinois 12. And it's decimating families, it's decimating communities, and we have to get this thing changed fast. Yes, sir.
I saw a report where that they took Bush's years and Obama's years, and Bush had 2.2 trillion average revenues, and Obama had 2.1 trillion. And so they had about the same amount of revenues. The problem is spending. Spending is out of control.
And so much of the spending is off the books still. You know, I mean, so much of the spending, you know, it's what the current legislation, the current Obamacare. You know, how much is Obamacare really going to cost? Well, you know, Nancy Pelosi said we'd have to pass the bill to see what's in it. We still don't know how much it's going to cost. We keep finding more things. I mean, it's no one knows what the true spending of this administration is. No one knows what the true spending of the Democrats in Congress the last few years have been. And it's something that is really frightening when you look at the debt burden that's going to be, forget our children, our grandchildren, and our great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be paying off the policies of this president. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that the repeal of Glass-Steagall precipitated a financial crisis that contributed to the economic problems we have?
I think a lot of things, you know, contributed to the economic problems we have. Glass-Steagall is obviously an issue a lot of people want to bring up. I mean, we just saw, you know, the London whale for J.P. Morgan, you know, without, you know, if we had Glass-Steagall in place, something like that would have occurred. Now, you can get into a discussion of whether or not the federal government should even care, since it's, you know, it's private enterprise, but
aren't they using the FDIC, which is government to secure your investment?
I don't know if J.P. Morgan actually uses
Well, I
it.
didn't mean just JP.
Yeah, well, I mean,
generally speaking, when
it depends. I mean, you know, the FDIC only insures certain types of financial institutions. So, you know, I can't tell you for sure which ones use FDIC, which ones don't use FDIC. But Glass-Steagall, if it was in effect, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have some of the investment banking businesses involved in some of the retail operations they're involved in, things like that. I couldn't tell you if Glass-Steagall would have prevented this exact recession. I think a lot of things played into it. I mean, I think if we really wanted to prevent this recession, you know, the voters of Connecticut and the voters of Massachusetts keeping Chris Dodd and Barney Frank in their expansion of the housing guarantees would have done a lot to stop the current recession we're in. I don't think that you can say this one exact piece of legislation.
So, I thought it's underwater.
Sure.
Right? And I kind of felt like that might not happen if a lot of loans hadn't been made to people who couldn't afford to make the payments.
Yeah.
Or overvalued properties or something, so that it kind of caused this collapse in the values and the people who could pay them. And here's my question, because that's my question.
Right.
My question is that the result of deregulation in the financial industry? Because it doesn't seem like it's the result of regulation.
Well, I think what you see is a lot of those loans are made to people that ended up couldn't afford the loan. A lot of those things that occurred because of things that were forced upon banks by the federal government. You know, I mean,
So the federal government
banks
forces banks to make loans that weren't worth the money.
There's legislation out there all the time that forces banks to loan and invest money into certain, you know, different things that maybe they would have and maybe they wouldn't have without that pressure from the government. So you just don't know.
What we hear now is that the banks aren't making loans, so whatever made them make loans before
Well, there's different types of loans. I mean, when you say banks making loans, I mean,
Well, we can talk about houses.
So mortgages.
Starting with mortgages.
yeah, I mean, there's banks out there all the time that are trying to, obviously, banks have to make loans, they have to, you know, have those operations in order to stay in business. So yeah, there's banks out there making mortgages. Is it as easy today to get a mortgage as it was 6 years ago? No, it's not. And even though interest rates
Not
are,
going on my underwater.
what's that?
I can't refinance
No, you-
my underwater house.
Right.
And so it seems to me that the banks are, I hear they have money, but they're not really making a lot of loans with it because they're concerned about the economic climate, and so they're holding on to their money. But if the federal government could force them to make loans in the past, like you just said, then why aren't they making loans now?
Because look what happened the last time they made it. You don't want to repeat that.
So we want more regulation when it comes to making loans.
I don't follow how we would want, no, I mean, nothing that I said, you know, is that I want the federal government making banks do anything. I mean,
Well, I guess what I thought you meant is like, what's to stop a bank from loaning somebody $1 million to buy a house that's worth $200,000?
well, the bank wants to make money. If they do that, they're not going to make money.
But if their loan is secured by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac,
Then the
it's
tax.
not their money they're losing.
Well, there's rules, and I mean, there's rules that banks have to abide to in making loans. But I mean, just because the thought that the federal government is insuring this loan and guaranteeing this loan, therefore it's okay for the bank to make it, is why we're in the position we're in right now.
Yeah, I can
And
understand.
so I don't understand why we would want that to happen
Well,
again.
it seemed like a lack of regulation to me. Like, it seemed to me like the people who were going to loan the money or secure the loans that the banks make, the Fannie Mae's, the Freddie Mac's.
Those are governmental entities. So I
They're
don't know.
similar.
Well, they're governmental entities. I
And they are
really don't
governmental